This is Madison Russo.
You know, it's gonna be fine. You hope it's gonna be fine. Fingers crossed. We're all praying, obviously.
The teenager that used social media to chronicle the battle for her life.
I mean, if you would look at me, you wouldn't even realize that I'm sick and going through treatment.
A heartbreaking journey that had followers open their hearts.
What struck a chord with you about her story?
And their wallets to the Iowa teen.
She was a very young person that appeared to be in a serious amount of trouble.
But now, recent allegations—
this is disgusting. Disgusting.
—have called into question the very basis of Maddie's online fame.
I cannot grasp that in my brain. How did she sleep at night?
And these accusations aren't just cancelable, they're criminal.
Now, new tonight, this search warrant is revealing some new details about what led to her arrest and what was taken from her apartment.
But as new details over Maddie's alleged crime emerge, the depths this blossoming influencer sunk to has the internet questioning whether this hoax was a team effort, or if the teenager masterminded the scam and sealed her fate all on her own.
My name is Maddie Russo, and this is my story.
If anyone's life could be defined by adversity, it would be Madison Russo's. In 2019, the Iowa teen was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. In 2022, a mass on her pancreas revealed she also had stage 2 pancreatic cancer. And 3 months later, just when Maddie learned her tumor was shrinking, she was informed the cancer had spread to her blood, adding leukemia to the teen's trifecta of life-threatening diagnoses. But call it bad luck, call it life's test, call it an uncaring universe. Whatever uncontrollable force was responsible for Maddie's constant health scares, the teenager didn't just persevere.
Type 1 diabetes does not define me. Pancreatic cancer does not define me. Leukemia does not define me.
She flourished. Maddie finished her semester at St. Ambrose University with an impressive 3.85 GPA and secured her dream internship with John Deere, all while going through oral chemotherapy and radiation, a journey she documented on her growing TikTok and other social media platforms.
It was one of my worries. I was like, do I do it? Do I not? But I'm glad I did, because it has been probably one of the best distractions.
Still, with a fresh tan and long hair, Maddie didn't exactly look like a cancer patient. But as the saying goes, looks can be deceiving.
If you look at me, you would never know that I am sick. I still have hair, I can put on makeup to hide the exhaustion and the pain, and I carry myself fairly well at work and school.
So, how did Maddie manage to keep her locks? Well, while the teen claimed oral chemo typically caused more thinning than actual hair loss, there were some over-the-counter options she presented to her followers as miracle solutions, including a regrowth treatment, a hair mask, and supplements.
Biotin, collagen, and keratin are crucial vitamins that are shown to help with hair, skin, and nail growth.
Yet, perhaps Maddie's secret to sidestepping the effects of chemo wasn't store-bought, but some hidden power the teenager alone possessed. See, social media posts positioned Maddie as a superhuman pancreatic cancer warrior who could maintain her pre-diagnosis looks and lifestyle, even if that meant going on a 6-mile run after her 14th round of chemo. People ask me how I do it all the time, Maddie wrote on Facebook. Moral of the story, I put my head down, focus on what is important, and grind. However, in other posts, Maddie made it clear she was not immune to the ravages of sickness. Just like other cancer patients, there were times when the teenager couldn't push her body the way she wanted to.
I have to realize that before I even do anything or attempt to do anything, my body is fighting so hard every minute just to stay alive.
And times when no hair treatment could stop her hair from falling out in, albeit somewhat unnaturally blunt, clumps.
I was brushing my hair, and a few pieces were coming out as I was brushing my hair. Of course, my 2 a.m. Google search was clip-in hair extensions, wigs.
No, just like Maddie didn't shy away from the good during her battle with cancer.
There's so many different things about it that just flat out sucks. But there's also some pretty beautiful things about it, I think, that I've been able to experience.
She showed equal representation for the bad.
It's just one of those days where just all I can say is cancer sucks. Cancer sucks.
And the ugly.
I have this mat, and we call it the yak mat. It's basically like a yoga mat, but it's long, and we put it in the bathroom because I have hardwood floors, so It's easier to puke.
Perhaps it was this unfiltered representation of the contradicting highs and lows of illness that qualified the teenager to speak on behalf of the cancer community at her university, share her story with the National Pancreas Foundation, and lend her perspective on the Project Purple podcast.
How would you define the term pancreatic cancer?
The first word that comes to mind is just ugly.
However, Maddie wasn't just fighting for her community, she was fighting for her life.
More advocating needs to be done, and that's why I do it, because I want people to live. I want to live.
The teenager was determined to beat the odds, which for her were at an 11% survival rate for 5 years. But in October 2022, the 19-year-old's can-do spirit was tested once again. Over the last few weeks, my back had been hurting so bad and I couldn't figure out why, Maddie told local news source the North Scott Press in 2022. A PET scan revealed there was a very straightforward cause for Maddie's pain, a football-sized tumor that had made itself at home on her spine. Individuals, businesses, and cancer charities had together contributed over $37,000 to a GoFundMe fundraiser created by a man named Tom Bouland to help Maddie pay her medical expenses. But now it seemed no dollar amount could heal the teen. She has tried everything and given it her all. An update posted to the campaign in January 2023 read, "Chemo, radiation, and other methods have no longer helped." Still, the 19-year-old hadn't let her diminishing odds of survival dim her positive spirit, as a photo captured her smiling, even with feeding tubes and IV poles. Yet despite the update's optimistic sign-off that stated, "Here's to the greatest comeback story ever told and a miracle in 2023, for anyone familiar with illness, the message sounded a lot like goodbye. But oh, what a guiding light the community would be losing. Maddie was the person who chose to make the undiscussed nitty-gritty details of illness public. In fact, the teenager's candid posts all seemed to say the same thing. This is what cancer looks like. Or was it? Sure, Maddie's social media persona represented someone in the throes of the battle for her life.
I am getting back on track for radiation this morning. I just think it's another round we can check off, and it's just one step closer. I feel so weak, so just like kind of like woozy. Some days it does kick your butt a little bit. I'm just keeping it real.
But beneath the hair, the makeup, and the go-go-go lifestyle, was Maddie's illness just invisible?
You could look at somebody from the outside and think they look healthy, but you don't see that inside their body is literally trying to destroy them.
Or non-existent. See, it seemed there'd been a miracle, or at least that's how one North Scott Press reader saw it when they left a comment on the teen's interview. "Your prayers are answered. Maddie does not have cancer." The headline stamped across socials and news broadcasts broke the news. Madison Russo was cancer-free, or so that's what the allegations sent to local law enforcement suggested. On January 11th, 2023, authorities received a report that claimed the teenager had cashed out the over $37,000 donated to her GoFundMe page. So, what was the big deal? That money was rightfully Maddie's, right? Well, it would have been if the 19-year-old hadn't allegedly made the whole thing up.
They found a mass on my pancreas, and I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer at just 19 years old. Scared is an understatement. I was terrified, and I definitely still am.
It was a heartbreaking tale, a young woman battling both leukemia and pancreatic cancer. The cops say she wasn't sick at all.
Ultimately, I just pray. I pray that cancer is something that you will never have to know.
According to authorities, she doesn't have cancer. She never did, and that's not just a lie, it's a felony.
All of y'all's support has been so awesome. It does not go unnoticed.
Officers say 19-year-old Madison Russo stole the money from more than 439 donors with false claims that she suffered from acute lymphoblastic leukemia, stage 2 pancreatic cancer, and a tumor the size of a football.
Understandably, the community that had rallied around Madison was rocked by the news. This couldn't be the same girl who wrote a post where she claimed to be able to relate to a paraplegic man because they both knew how life can change in an instant. And no way was this the teen who had accepted charity with open arms. It just couldn't be that Maddie, the pancreatic cancer warrior the community had accepted with open arms, prayed for, and offered help to, had been lying the whole time.
And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you guys, all of the prayers, all of the thoughts, just the warm hugs, the warm feelings, the packages I've received. It has made this just a tiny bit easier.
My wife connected with Maddie as she was afflicted with the same blood cancer as her, and we cheered her, commiserated with her, amplified her message, and supported her GoFundMe, the spouse of a cancer patient wrote. However, now he was convinced he and his other half had been duped. On behalf of a caregiver and cancer warrior who have and do solicit donations on behalf of both themselves and fundraising organizations, this affects us as much as you and soils the mission that we're on. And these weren't the only victims of the teen sob story. Maddie had also befriended a girl named Charlie Erpelding, a fellow Iowa teenager who battled cancer until she tragically lost the fight in October 2022.
Maddie dedicated this post to Charlie after she passed, saying that she and Charlie would text each other daily about all the ups and downs of our battles with cancer. The fact that this girl acted like she had cancer, acted like she could relate to Charlie's plight, I cannot grasp that in my brain. How did she sleep at night?
And it appeared Maddie's content may have done more harm than good to those struggling with the disease. Remember that post where the teenager talked about going for a teensy 6-mile post-chemo run? Well, that image of Maddie, healthy and still able to physically challenge herself, stuck with one cancer patient. I was sitting on the couch, looking at the post and asking myself what I was doing wrong. Why was I bald, weak, and couldn't even think about walking, let alone running, they recalled. Turns out, the patient wasn't doing anything wrong. Maddie, on the other hand, well, that was for the authorities to sort out. And the teen social media might have just been a crime scene presented on a silver platter, as Maddie all too eagerly shared her cancer journey with viewers that now included law enforcement.
I know it's kind of helped me to talk through it and kind of hear myself. So I hope it helps you guys as well.
And boy, had Maddie been helpful. In fact, it was the teenager's online content that led medical professionals to approach the Eldridge Police Department in the first place. According to these experts, Maddie's social media posts had contained terrible life-threatening inaccuracies, some of which have since been pointed out online.
No substances in the tubing, and those look like cotton balls. Also, do you see that right there? That little purple spot? Yeah, that's supposed to be down in her stomach.
She also said that she was taking biotin to prevent her hair loss. Biotin is a protein that helps your hair grow. Chemo kills your cells that produce your hair. Biotin's not gonna help that.
The way that it's secured, the type of tape that's used, is not the same clinical tape that we would use in the hospital.
Let's go closer to her nose. Is that the end of the feeding tube?
But Maddie hadn't just misrepresented her treatment, she misrepresented herself. See, photos the teenager had posted while going through treatment weren't always taken from her own camera roll, but stolen from the social media accounts of cancer patients sharing their vulnerable moments.
This picture alone should put her in jail. She literally stole this photo, hoping that nobody would ever know.
Medical records from Genesis, Trinity, and Stead Family Children's Hospital also confirmed that although Madison was indeed a patient, she had never been treated for cancer. And on January 23rd, the 19-year-old was taken into custody outside of her classroom. The charge? Theft by means of deception, a Class C felony punishable by up to 10 years imprisonment. However, hours after her arrest, Madison was bailed out with a $10,000 cash bond by one Thomas Bouland. Does that name ring any bells? It should. After all, this was the same Thomas Bouland who had organized the GoFundMe on Madison's behalf. So what was this older man's connection to the teenager? Well, there was a rumor being whispered throughout the city of Eldridge that suggested Thomas was much more than simply a champion of the cause. According to an anonymous message sent to Bobby Smurdy, a TikTok account that's become an archive for Maddie's now deleted social media posts, Maddie and Tom had been involved in a romantic entanglement for the past 3 years. Peggy, Maddie's mom, was always trying to get her away from him, but it obviously never worked, the source alleged. And the age gap between the two wasn't the only problem. Rumor had it, Tom was already spoken for. Yup, Thomas was supposedly a married man with a family. And while Maddie attempted to upgrade herself from mistress to girlfriend status by allegedly faking a pregnancy, it was to no avail. Tom wouldn't leave his wife and daughter. But where did the cancer storyline come from? Was Tom somehow involved? Or was somebody else in Maddie's life tied up in the scheme? So many questions and so few answers. But that hasn't stopped speculation. Bobby Smurdy was suspicious that Maddie's mother had played a part in her daughter's alleged hoax. For the entirety of Maddie's life, her mother, Peggy Russo, has been a known helicopter parent, and it would be incredibly shocking to find out she was not involved, the user theorized in a TikTok. However, a Facebook comment allegedly made by Peggy implied the mother had never attended her daughter's appointments, despite asking numerous times to go. Told her she didn't have to do it alone, but she insisted, the mother wrote. No one's ever understood that. Was it pride? But it's broken my heart for a year. But while some TikTok users believe the mother was blindsided by the allegations against her daughter, others weren't so sure. One user commented, "I don't believe for a minute that her mom didn't know about it." And another suggested Peggy's online behavior didn't read as innocent, commenting, "I don't buy it. Her mom would post detailed updates." Then there was Maddie's age. Just 19 years old. Were they meant to believe a teenager was capable of pulling off the alleged scam solo? One user hypothesized, she had to be on her mom's insurance. There's no way she didn't know. But according to those anonymous messages sent to Bobby Smurdy, this wasn't the case. The source alleged Maddie was being supported financially by Tom and had taken herself off of her mother's insurance. The only time Peggy was allegedly given any insight on her daughter's terminal illness was when she was invited to hear her speak at events and galas. So that's where she took her chance. According to the source, Peggy found a doctor at an event in Chicago that was open to providing a second opinion on her daughter's diagnosis. However, Madison didn't seem to appreciate her mother's interference. Maddie freaked out, called her mom every name in the book, called Tom, and got a flight home immediately, left Peggy there alone, the source alleged. Then came December 2022, when Maddie allegedly left her car at her mother's place, along with a note that said she would pass away soon and no longer needed the vehicle. However, the next month, Maddie's actions were hardly those of a teen at the end of her life. Peggy allegedly received a call that informed her Maddie was moving into an expensive condo and bought a new car. As for how this jump in tax bracket occurred, well, according to the source, Maddie didn't just raise $38K on GoFundMe, which a majority of donations were Tom using fake names. She raised well over $100K on her own profile care accounts. And this wasn't the only instance where the mother received unsettling news about her daughter. A nurse who had kids at Peggy's daycare allegedly attempted to inform the mother that Maddie wasn't a patient at the hospital she claimed to be going to, but according to the source, Peggy denied it and didn't believe this woman who was trying to tell her that her daughter was lying. But that didn't mean Maddie hadn't raised suspicion. A friend of the Russo family anonymously shared this perspective with a local news station, and it's safe to say he wasn't sold on Maddie's alleged cancer shtick.
They say, quote, "I know me and my friends felt that she was faking from the beginning. None of the posts looked legit to me and she never lost her hair. I think it's sick and disgusting to do something like this though."
And although Maddie may have been bailed out, the wheels of justice were still in motion. On January 30th, authorities seized $33,000 as well as property from the teenager's bank accounts and a shared account between Maddie and Peggy. But that wasn't all the officers confiscated.
25 items were taken by Eldridge police, including a brown paper bag with medical supplies, a wig, journals, a laptop, pills belonging to a family member for nausea, folders with bank statements, and her vehicle.
And on February 28th, Maddie filed a written plea, not guilty. The teenager also had a question, or rather a request for prosecutors. Could they return her money? A court filing claimed the money that had been seized by the Eldridge police came from lawful employment, gifts, and loans. But it didn't appear things were going Madison's way. Remember that vehicle police seized in January? Well, in March, prosecutors filed a forfeiture complaint against the teenager that alleged Maddie had used her funds that she secured through GoFundMe to buy the 2023 Kia Sportage. Maddie's attorney denied this and filed a request that claimed her client was the legal owner of the money and it was acquired through lawful employment, gifts, and loans. As for those over 400 contributors who had dug into the depths of their pockets to donate to a teen they believed was fighting for her life, thankfully, they have since been refunded and informed of an alleged scam they'd never seen coming.
I didn't really have words. Like when my friend sent me the link, was like, "Oh my gosh, you shared this, you donated." Like, I didn't donate that much, but it's like you do what you can and you're just like shocked. I hope the people in the foundations that donated get all their money back in, and hopefully they can give it to someone with an actual diagnosis.
When Louis Fillman was refunded his $500 donation, he assumed the worst. Madison must have passed away. However, after Louis found out the real reason he had been reimbursed, his pity for the teenager remained.
Say a prayer for this young kid because she's going to have a lot of terrible consequences as a result of this.
And while some donors couldn't help but let the news dampen their charitable spirit, Louis wasn't going to let the alleged scam turn him into a cynic.
It's a better idea to do a good thing and be taken than it is to sit in your foxhole and hope something gets better.
And as the tentative trial date of May 15th approaches, perhaps those Maddie allegedly took advantage of can find comfort in Louis's philosophy, that even when kindness is taken advantage of, a charitable act is never done in vain. Madison used social media to weave a touching story, one of a teenager that, despite her dire circumstance,
it's extremely physically exhausting, but also the mental part of it, I think it's 10 times worse.
Remained hopeful.
I will be able to walk across the stage at my college graduation, able to get married and become a mom. I just have to continue to fight and advocate for a cure.
But allegations have spun that once heartwarming tale into a chilling example of the levels of deceit one person can stoop to.
Every time she placed a piece of tape on her skin, knowing that none of it was actually doing anything, how did you not think this is wrong?
In an effort to profit off of the kindness of strangers.
Like, if you're gonna lie about having cancer and start fundraising on your own behalf and make it your whole personality, you better raise more than $37,000. You better raise, enough money to flee the country.
This is the story of Madison Russo, the teenager who allegedly tried to fool the internet until her lies made front-page news.